Every goddamn time.
Nothing a little hearing damage doesn't cure. So welcome back, everybody. Today we're working on the LS3. We're going to be building an engine. So I don't know how far we're going to get today, but I'm going to try to get it all in one thing if I can. Otherwise, it'll be in a couple parts. But either way, we're starting off by working on getting these main bearings in. I can't talk today. So we ended up going with these tri-metal bearings, basically. They're just a Clavette, I guess is the brand. And those things are what we're putting in. We got the thrust bearings and the main bearings, all those things. So what we need to do first is pre-assembly. We're going to be putting all the bearings in, and then putting the crankshaft in and measuring the clearances.
Wait, why do I got two?
Why you got two, dude?
Oh, shit! We're good. We're good. I had a mini heart attack there. We're good. So when you're looking at these, you got thrust bearings and then regular bearings. The thrust bearings are the only ones with the washer thing on the side. And essentially, these things are all going to have a key to them. You see this little mark here? That's where the keys need to go in order to line it up. Now on here too, you're going to have these nice little oil holes. You're going to want to make sure that these oil holes are lined up with the correct side, because one of the bearings doesn't have any oil holes. You put this one where the oil hole goes, now your crankshaft doesn't have any oil. That's not good. So once we get all these things lined up, what we're going to do is we're going to set the crankshaft inside here and verify all the clearances to make sure everything fits like it's supposed to. We're currently not using any lubrication on this because lubrication would change those readings.
Who needs lube?
Yeah, who needs lube when you're going in dry? So we got
Go
all
get
these
some
things
action
good to go.
shots.
Action shots. Okay, this part's kind of tricky because we have to be extremely careful with the crankshaft. And it's not exactly light, okay? So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take it, I'm just gonna, whoa! No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna try not to drop it. So we're gonna carefully set this thing up inside here. And we do not want it to turn, okay? So this part is just gotta be very ginger with it. Okay, I'm just slowly layering this thing down. That way we can set it. Okay, we're good. Okay, the crankshaft's in. Now, once it's in here, you don't want to turn it. You want to just leave it here, and then we're going to put each main bearing in, and we're going to check it with plastic gauge. So that's what we'll do next. Now, this right here is plastic gauge. So there it is. It's that little strip of green stuff right there. It'll be a lot bigger once we crush it. So now we're just taking the bearings and putting them on the main caps, and then putting the main caps onto the engine. And then basically all we're going to do is then we're going to torque it down as if we were actually torquing this down. This is what's considered pre-assembly. And then we'll take it off and verify our size. So we're going to do that real quick. Now, a cool thing about these main caps is they've got a nice little arrow pointing to where they go and what number they are. So we got them all in there. Now we're just going to torque them all down to specs. And then we'll take them all off. Okay, so now we're just tightening this thing down. Basically 15 foot-pounds on these inner bolts. And then we're going to break out the torque angle bit, which is this little guy right here. So this angle tool is kind of a pain to do, and you got to be very careful, but this is the method we came up with that works best. It's obviously not precise. All right, give her a yank. Oh,
Wait,
got her. I'm still holding her. It's okay, we got this. And you're at 70. Just a little bit more. There's 80. Boom. And that's how we're doing it. May not be perfect, but it works. So we were tightening all these bolts down, and as you can see, something went horrifically wrong yet again. And this bolt is basically sheared off. Now, we were doing everything on the book as far as the torque specs and everything, but somewhere along the lines, this thing is way past gone. So we got to inspect, and hopefully there's no damage to the threads. But yeah, the ball just keeps on rolling. There you go. Yeah, there, now you can see it. It's sheared like completely right there. Not sure exactly how that happened, but we're about to find out. Okay, so we got all the main caps off, and we looked at all the threads. All the threads look to be good. You can see the plastic gauges here. We're going to measure it, but it's not exactly what we need. We need to actually have it torqued down to check for real. But, I mean, you get an idea of what it's going to look like. So, we're going to have to redo this. We're probably going to need to get some more bolts because we snapped at least one. and we don't want to reuse ones that may be over tightened. So as it turns out, using a cheap $13 angle tool is not a smart move because this thing's off by about 10 degrees. So there's a good chance that when we were tightening this thing using that it was not exactly at 81 degrees or 51 degrees, depending on what we needed it for. So obviously it over torqued it and just snapped it right off. So now the main question is whether or not these bolts are going to be reusable. I'm concerned that maybe they were over tightened and it could potentially shear going down the road. So we may need to get new bolts. And this is just one more thing to add to the list when it comes to building this car, because man, we are having all the luck, I tell you. Okay, so we survived a winter storm and we're back. The cracked bolts are still cracked, but we got a new set of bolts. So now we're going to try putting everything back in, putting the crank in, and just moving forward from here. So let's do it.
So I'm guessing the high revving engines use a light crankshaft or lighter.
Maybe. Honestly, I don't think they might have like a lightened one, but I think it's all pretty standard in terms of size.
Crankshafts or crankshafts?
Well, they're just hardened steel essentially. There we go. Okay, so there's the measurement on that, and you can see how it fits in there. Pretty close, yeah. It's like somewhere in the middle. So to remove this stuff, all you do is just take your fingernail and just kind of softly rub it away. It'll slowly go away after a little bit. It just takes a little bit of time. There she is. So now what we're doing is we're just putting lube on all the main bearing areas. So that way we got a nice big old assembly lube on there. So that way we're good to go. And then we'll put the main caps on.
Fucking solid.
Yeah. Got it nice and solid in there. Lubed up the top of the bearing and removed the old plastic gauge. So now that's good to go. We're just going to make sure we tap it all the way flush down here and then move on to the other ones. You can see we're trying to line these up just right in there so that way we can get these bolts put on, because if it's not lined up right, we can't get the bolts through there. So we're going to put the bolts in to line these things up and then tap them down. They're just not quite lining up right. Okay, so now we're just putting on the studs and the bolts and we're just getting them ready to torque. Okay, so now Chris got one of these new fancy tools because our cheap tool did not do the trick last time. So he got this nice torque angle wrench, but it's also a torque wrench. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's going to be better than the little cheap dial that we used last time. So we're going to use that. We're going to try to torque this sucker down in sequence, and fingers crossed we don't break any bolts. So wish us luck. Because the thing. No, so what we were doing before, we were trying to torque this thing down. This stupid engine stand kept rotating, so I ended up getting these things. We went to Lowe's and we got these little stopper things here, and we put a little like rubber thing on there to kind of help keep these caster wheels down, and so far it seems to be doing the trick. We'll see if it works when we actually go to torque this thing down though. Oh yeah, it is. So it is working. Nice. So now he's just torquing it down to, what are we torquing it down to?
These are 15 foot-pounds.
So 15 foot-pounds or 180 inch-pounds, what we're doing right now, based on the sequence. So look that up if you're doing it. All right, so I guess that's what we're doing now. We're gonna be tapping the crankshaft forward and back since it's torqued to 15. So
I'm guessing this is rearward, this is forward.
Yeah. So we tap it rearward, then forward.
Just follow the little arrows.
All right, so we're tapping it back and then tapping it forward. So here we go. Did it even move? I think it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. 80 degrees. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I forgot I could ratchet.
Oh my God, I don't like this. Oh. Oh my goodness, that's some fancy shit right there.
What, this is hot tech bullshit?
Holy crap. Well, that's one bolt down, only like
That's a lot
30
less
more.
torque than I did on, because I used a breaker bar the last time.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what else? You're able to do it without this rotating.
Yeah.
So I think those stoppers are working. Look at that.
Actually, let's do the marker on each one.
Yeah, where is that? Right here?
Yeah, these guys. Just in case we get distracted by something.
Yeah, somebody shows up randomly. Hey, what y'all doing?
Nah, which one do we each time? There's another 80 degrees.
God damn.
200 foot-pounds. Look at us actually doing it a responsible way.
Wow. Which ones?
These two.
Okay. Ooh, that's a strong marker. There. It's a mark somewhere. My marks are terrible, but...
I mean, it's like one of those things.
At least we know it's done.
Because just for us, it's like to make sure that...
That we don't do it twice.
Yeah.
What if that was what happened? What if we accidentally did it twice? Wouldn't that be some shit?
I could see that. Because we did get lost at one point.
Yeah. You know, mistakes happen.
Yeah. I mean, this is all a learning experience, you know?
Yeah. It's an expensive learning experience, but it's a learning experience nonetheless.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it is.
Yeah.
Could be worse if you get a girl pregnant.
Don't put that juju on me, Ricky Bobby.
Oh, all your parts will be gone.
Luckily, I don't have no girlfriend, so we good. Oh, there it is. All right. Nice. With each bolt, I get happier and happier. Only like 100 more bolts to go.
I know. At least this and the connecting rods are like the only precise ones, right?
Yeah.
I'm not worried
head
about it.
bolts.
Head bolts are like, well,
Yeah, I mean, that's whatever.
I don't think those are angle.
No, I don't.
I don't like angle.
The ones on the BMW were.
Oh, well, okay, that's Beamer.
You know how I did them on those? That looks like 45 degrees.
It's like all the way over here. 45.
It worked. Dude, that's what I'm saying. What's crazy about this is how these are inside the block and they're framed in like this. Whereas the old school caps, you wouldn't have. It would just be like this little square, like this square portion in the middle. Just think like that, and it's not connected to anything on the side. It's not braced to the sides.
So it would really just be downward force holding.
Essentially, yeah. It's crazy, but they work just fine. That's why I'm saying, like, that's why these blocks are so strong, because it's boxed in there. Like, physically, this thing can't move, and then you got the bolts on top of it keeping, like, it's incredible the way this thing's designed. I mean, really. And it's such a simple solution, too. It's not even, like, a complicated one. It's also the reason why the oil pans can be so small. It's incredible. Oh, look at that. That's so fancy. That's so fancy. Hey. Oh, that's so cool. I like tools. I like tools. I'm a simple man. Oh, clear that sucker.
I was already 51.
I already got it. I'm doing pretty good. Why'd that one bolt go flying out the edge? Well, you see, sir, what had happened was... Okay. Okay, so these side bolts have this little bit of RTV in there, so if yours don't, you're going to want to add a dab. But luckily, these ones come with it on there. So we're going to put those suckers in there at 18 foot-pounds, or what was it, 216 inch?
Yeah, 216.
Man, I wish I had 216 inches. Bam. Okay, so we almost forgot to put the crankshaft position sensor in, but there it is. That's the location. Pretty much right on the back side of the block. Okay, so now what we're doing is we're measuring the crankshaft end play, and what we've got here is a little dial indicator. It's set up going right into the crankshaft, so what we're going to do is we've got it set fully forward this way, and then what we're going to do is push this way, and then see what the measurement is to get the end play. There we go. We're at 0 right there. Okay.
0, alright.
Give her a little pushy push. It's going backwards for some reason, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 thousandths. Okay, so we're
well within
50,
the range.
so it's at 50 technically, so 50 thousandths. So yeah, we're good. So that's good to go. All right, so we just had our first win of the day. We got the crankshaft in, so that's a huge win right there. So yeah, first win in quite a while. So now all we got to do is we're gonna basically flip it over and start working on getting the pistons in and the connecting rods. So that's what we're gonna do. So now we're at the point where we gotta do piston rings. I'm gonna be using a ring filer. Now this one I just got on Amazon because it was cheap. I'm going to have links for all this stuff below. I am an affiliate, so I do get a little bit of a cut, but it doesn't cost you any more. But the main point is, if you need to know where to get this stuff, I'm going to put it down there for you so it's easy to find. This ring filer is going to make it to where we can go ahead and get it to fit the exact size that we want, because they're file-to-fit rings. Now, there will be a specification. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but we'll get to that when we get to it. But these things are very handy. Otherwise, you're going to be doing it by hand, and you can very easily screw these things up. So we're going to take our time and do this extremely carefully. Alright, so what we're doing now is we're working on doing the piston rings. One of the things that we need to do is we need to measure the gap. Now, this here is one of the old pistons that's all jacked up. Now, what I've done is I've taken the top ring out, and we're leaving the second ring in there. Because what you need to do is when you put the piston ring in here to check it, you'll put it in there, and then you're going to take this and measure at about 1 inch depth. Now, they sell tools for this, but the old school method is you just leave the second ring in there because that right there is about 1 inch. And so you put that in there, it'll make it nice and flat, and then you take your measurement with the feeler gauge. It's just a neat little shortcut if you don't have the tool that you need at the time and you just need to get it done. But people have been building engines like this for a very long time. So At least amateurs like us. So yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use our ring filer, and we're going to do very little bit at a time. The key is that this thing needs to be as square as possible to the grinding wheel, and that the rotation is going inwards towards the inside of the piston ring. It's very important that this thing does not go off center. So we're going to be careful here. We're going to do a little bit at a time and just kind of see how it goes. So when we do that, we just hold that there. And I'm going to hold that as carefully. Usually there's like a clamp to hold this. And then I'm just going to slowly make this thing work. And then we check. Yep, it's like next to nothing off of that. I didn't even get the paint hardly. All right, so 30 million hours later, and we got one ring to be the right size. Yep, okay, so we got it in there nice and tight. And we take our feeler gauge here, we pop it in there. Goes in nice and good. And we can slide it just a little bit, no issues. And then the size up does not fit in the hole. So we're good to go on the very first ring of 16. It's gonna be a long night.